So Dr. Anil Maheshwari sir has already joined. So
joined. Okay, okay, that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, Ashish. Hello, Nisha. Great to see you.
namaste.
Namaste. Beautifully conducted. Thing. The club is fantastic. I had the joy of being there 2 years ago in January and presenting a talk on Yoga Sutra and world peace. And it was such a joy. The house was full, and so what you're doing is fantastic, and all the research you reported is amazing. More such research should be done around the country, and I was just hearing people saying they're doing it for the first time. That's a little bit of a shame. I mean, it's nice to be honest to say this is what you're doing, but these are practices available to us through Ramdev ji and through every other way. And these are the best ways to improve your immunity against COVID, right, Ashish? First of all, if nothing else, practically it will improve your immunity, and then of course keeps you healthy, and all the other advantages, and improve the grades. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, actually, the first semester, second semester, the experiment group, and the grade was so we have this 10-point scale.
Right.
The increase was 0.7.
Wow, oh, that's a whole grade almost. That's a whole grade. Wow. Wow, that's a very significant effect size. Yeah.
And we are doing it for year after year. For last 4 or 5 years, we are doing it. So when we track that, last 4 or 5 years, the impact is consistent.
Yeah.
Wow. So from the day one, I am giving them stress, and today I am just giving them.
No, today I'm going to give them bliss. Today I'm going to talk about bliss.
Yes.
Completely.
So today is the last day, so I'm just giving them a few exercises to relax them, to be in a blessing mode, and it practices all these things. So yeah.
It's about 10 p.m. for me, so a little bit late. So I think I should begin.
Okay.
Right.
So I will request Pranjal sir to introduce Professor Anil Maheshwari ji. Pranjal sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. Please introduce, sir.
I'll put up my slide also if I can during the period.
Yeah, welcome participants in this morning session. And now, without taking much of your time, I will introduce Dr. Anil Maheshwari to the assembly. Dr. Anil Maheshwari is a professor of management and director of MBA in information systems at Maharishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa, USA. He teaches courses in data analytics, strategic management, leadership, marketing, and others. His research has been published in Creativity Research Journal, Family Business Review, and other scholarly journals. He has also presented at Academy of Management International Conference of Information Systems, National Teachers Congress, and other major conferences. He is the author of a dozen of books on technology, management, and spirituality, including Data Analytics Made Accessible at #1 global bestseller that has been published by McGraw-Hill. He has 20 years of IT industry experience, including 9 years in leadership role at IBM in Austin. He has been a professor at the University of Cincinnati, University of New York, University of Illinois, and others. He earned a BTech in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi, an MBA from Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad, and a PhD in management from Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland, Ohio. He is a practitioner of Transcendential meditation. I'm sorry, I'm not able to pronounce it properly. TM and TM Silly techniques. He has been at MIU since 2012 and earned the prestigious Maharishi Award in 2015. He lives in Vedic City and blogs on blissful living. His research has been published in prestigious journals and conferences. With these words, I welcome you, sir, in this assembly. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pranjal. So you guys can hear me okay? Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I'm going to speak about consciousness-based education or bridging consciousness with modern science, how we should teach, to talk really about education. This is faculty development program. I hope you've received the chapter 1 of the book that Nisha and I are writing. I have written on social entrepreneurship. And you've heard a lot about social entrepreneurship. And so I thought maybe we can talk a few minutes about that, but I want to really focus on Vedic knowledge, which is our heritage, which unfortunately we tend to know very little about. How many of you know what are the 4 Vedas? Just raise your hand if you do it. Probably not many. Anyway, the point being that Vedas are a knowledge system of wholeness. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So first of all, we pay homage to our gurus who give us knowledge at every level. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi would say, the purpose of life is expansion of happiness. Not my happiness, not your happiness. Expansion of happiness, something bigger than us. So those who have seen this or can, please read this Wholeness Mantra with me. It's from the Upanishads. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What it means is everything is wholeness. That out there is wholeness. That I am is wholeness. From wholeness comes wholeness. And when wholeness comes out of wholeness, what remains is also wholeness. So when we know something and we give the knowledge to somebody, we are still whole and more holes are coming out. So we can expand and generate more wholeness and more joy out there, because I'm assuming, making the assumption that wholeness is joy, wholeness is bliss, and I'll come to that in a moment. So peace comes when we feel whole. The moment we feel less than whole, we don't have peace. So Shanti comes from wholeness, when we feel not broken, not incomplete. So I'm going to talk about blissful education. What is the purpose of education and stuff and things like that. So why we don't have holistic education is because sometimes the teacher don't know the wholeness of something. Right? If you don't understand the topic in its depth, you don't have a grip on it, it's very difficult to teach it, right? So we sort of, if you don't connect with something, whether it's chemistry or physics or whatever you're teaching, and also if that education makes you whole, it's liberating. So there are many, many obstacles that I don't want to go too much into obstacles. Maybe you can read it. The idea is the world today is moving towards such specialized, such piecemeal education. Like think of it, right? I'm coming in here as one little piece here, right? And then it's up to you how to connect with everything else, isn't it? You're hearing maybe 10 people, and then where is the thread? So either the person who's providing this whole conference provides a common thread and introduces every piece and saying, this is where it fits in the wholeness, and the whole thing is coming together for you, in which case you feel very joyful. And I'm sure Nisha has done that. So this is how something becomes wholeness. So when you're teaching somebody, let's say, I don't know what you teach. I mean, are you all science teachers or what do you teach? or is social entrepreneurship business school teachers?
So there are a whole like people are from various domains, management, technical, like all domains are there, sir.
Right. All domains are there, right? So maybe you're teaching marketing, for example, right? Or you're teaching entrepreneurship, or you're teaching whatever. So thank you, Deepak, for mentioning the 4 Vedas. The fourth, Rig Ved, Atar Ved, Yajur Ved, and Sam Ved. So those are the 4 Vedas. Thank you for taking a shot at it. So the point is that no matter what you're teaching, you need to know your thing very well. And then you need to help the student relate it to what they already know. Isn't it important? If you can't relate to what you already know, what some of the student already knows, it becomes very difficult. Then it just becomes you remember something, you take the exam, and then you are done with it. Okay, so somebody's having fun playing on this thing. Please refrain from it, or we'll stop the process here. Okay, so there are many reasons why this education doesn't happen. It has to do with what about the teacher, about the student, about the overall context in which the education happens. So technology is changing, right? Teachers sometimes are sort of just taking up without loving it. Sometimes students do teaching. And the last one is the idea of Vidyarthi and Sukharthi. You know, if you are a Vidyarthi, you can't be Sukharthi. If you are Sukharthi, you can't be Vidyarthi. Learning is hard work and it requires tremendous focus. So let me just stop this for a moment and let me share and maybe hear from you all as to how what do you think is the purpose of education?
So true education liberates, actually, like education opens up the whole world to us. We can it's a means to know more about ourselves, more about the society, more about the environment as such, and to share the knowledge actually.
Okay, very good. And somebody said awareness. Awareness. What else?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So myself, Kaushambi Chaudhary. For me, it is something where we can, create that change.
Create what?
Create the change, that positive change, the change which is very much required in every aspect of, the environment and probably in everything. So we before awareness also we have to understand why the change is required, and then only we can proceed in that particular line or in that particular direction of bringing that change or creating that change.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Holistic development of the individual. Okay. What do you get out of education? To make the relevance of the world, develop an understanding of life, on livelihood. So there are many reasons, right? Okay, very good. So all of those things are coming together. I would say the purpose, what do your parents want from you when you were growing up? What did they say? They want you to have the confidence. Okay, what else?
So to get the basic knowledge, like education system has been designed in such a way that initially during the primary we get a basic idea, and during the secondary and senior secondary we build on that knowledge and then go on to graduate into a particular specific area. So after that, like most of the parents,
okay, that's a long discussion. I want short discussion. Empowerment, ability to grow, whatever growth means, right? All those are good answers. Learn, ability to learn. Okay, let's see what else. Independent living, the ability to accept mistake. Good life. What is a good life? Who said that? Good life. Prakash. What is good life? Or somebody, if Prakash wants to add on it, that's fine. Otherwise, what do your parents want from you? What want you to be? Huh?
Good life means happiness.
Happiness. Right. They want you to be happy.
What you're doing.
And you want to be happy in life, very joyful, blissful, through all of these things. You want to learn, you want to do, you want to enjoy, you want to work with people, all that stuff, right? Oh, anybody has kids? What do you want for your kids? Capabilities to live. Okay, live meaning exist, survive, or thrive, accepting all adversity. So we are in a very adverse environment at some level, right? With the COVID, etc. So a lot of answers are coming around adversity management. Yes, peaceful life, right? Peaceful life, happy life, blissful life, joyful life. Enjoy, be happy, spread happiness, right? Agree? We want to be happy. Our parents want us to be happy. We want our children to be happy. So how do we become happy? Become happy by having the wholeness of knowledge, feeling whole, that I'm not inadequate. I'm having the confidence, right? Somebody said to use the word, I can trust the confident trust. It's about having the trust in ourselves. That's what confidence is. So that is the essence of education. And I'm going to share with you some principles for how one can be whole and teach holistically. So we'll talk about development of consciousness, awareness. We want to be aware of ourselves, right? That what am I? When I know myself and I know that I'm truly unbounded, there are no limits to me, I feel different. I feel happy. I feel joyful. I know anything can happen and I can handle anything, whether negative, positive. Negative and positive are all labels we give. If we talk of natural law, because we want to live in accordance with nature. If we live very artificial life, then it becomes difficult to exist. We give, some random goals, artificial goals. Okay, you must get this. You must achieve this. Why? Not because nature wants or the God wants, something like that. Forget the God, but is it true to my dharma, my nature? So how do we live in accordance with natural law? So let me share some idea of consciousness. What is consciousness? So consciousness is at one level absolute. Come from Vedic side, Vedanta. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that. The world is me. I am the world. I'm just pure being, pure existence, pure consciousness, which is aware of itself. But then at another level, we are individuals, human beings. We see each other. We have names, as we can see on Zoom. And we have knowledge of this and that. We have different subjects, different classes, different schools. We have the labels things. So the people and then things. Now this becomes sort of so plentiful and such explosion of individuality that it is very difficult to know everything, isn't it? How do you know everything? How do you see infinity? Infinity can be seen by coming at the level of absolute being, absolute consciousness. At the level of absolute being, we are infinite, unbounded. Again, that's Vedic knowledge, Vedantic knowledge. So I'm coming from a Vedantic perspective. I teach at Maharishi International University. It was started by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi about 50 years ago. And his goal was to provide techniques to live an unbounded life, happy life, bring peace to individual, communities, organizations, and to the whole world. So if and when and however people operate from the level of unbounded consciousness together, then we can create a positive coherence in the environment, which can lead to peace in your neighborhood, in your community, in your city, in your country, in the whole world. That's a talk I gave to Yoga Club and to Nishaji's school 2 years ago. We have tremendous research to show when you are aware of yourself as unbounded consciousness, again, some period of time, not forever. You have to operate at the relative level. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you using a tool. I'm talking to multiple of you. I'm using a particular chart. I'm using a particular computer. I'm using certain English language. All of those are particular. So we have to live at the surface level. But we also want to be able to know ourselves. Every knowledge tradition has said, know thyself. Who am I? And it all comes down to knowing yourself as that unbounded, unmanifest consciousness. Some call it God, some call it whatever, but there is a total consciousness that underlies the world. And that's a Vedantic perspective. Modern science has a different perspective on consciousness. I'm involved in many, many conversations, and have maybe I'll show you a conference that we're doing on integrated international conference on consciousness-based leadership and management. And I would actually invite you to submit proposals if you wish. The idea being that when you want to solve the biggest problems in the world, you want to show up in the most powerful way. And a person is not just bounded by their body, but your mind is much bigger than everything else. Right? Ashish was talking about when he was showing meditation, the nature of mind is to go around. Why do you think mind jumps around? Why? Anybody? Why do you think mind goes around? It doesn't stay still.
So because we are attracted sometimes for the time, we are attracted to more than one options or more than one alternatives which will grab our attention. So for that thing.
Okay, so we are attracted to many things. What else? And then but why doesn't it stay with those things that it's attracted to?
Excuse me, sir. Pardon me, sir.
Why does it distracted by senses? Okay, senses means that is attracted by many, many things, shiny objects. Why doesn't it stay with any one thing?
Because the thing is that, sir, if we are fulfilling our needs from one particular option, then our mind jumps, wants more. It jumps to some other thing.
What is our need? What is the mind's need?
Sir, like we see in the Maslow's hierarchies also, need of motivation theory, if we talk about. If we are fulfilling our physiological needs, then we will go for the safety needs and just like that, and keep on wanting some more and more and more. That's
right.
what.
So we want more and more and more. We are not satisfied with what we're getting. We're looking at something else which might give you more bliss, more joy, more happiness.
Exactly.
Okay, we look at something and somebody's marketing to us and we think it's great, but then we say, oh, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Right? We have the sense of sort of an instant, sort of moment of pleasure, not of happiness, and certainly not of joy. Now, it is also the nature of mind to naturally go towards a place of greater charm, right? We're looking at more attraction, but let me use the word charm. That's a word Maharishi uses. Something is more charming, you naturally gravitate towards it. So mind also will like to go to a place of greatest charm. What is the greatest charm for mind? Settled, rested, having everything. Everything that the mind wants to know. Mind wants to know about X, Y, Z, everything. And that's how our students are, right? They are trying to learn this. They may be sitting in your class, but they're thinking somewhere else. Do you all take attendance every day? Do you take attendance in class? Not here. I'm saying when you're teaching. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Now, do you take physical attendance or mental attendance?
Some mental attendance.
How do you take mental attendance?
Sir, whenever they will be interacting or responding or whatever opinions they are having, whenever they will be sharing. So from there also we can know that, yes, they are actually actively participating or proactively participating.
Okay. Right. So I see the comments. When you come into the class, you read the name A, B, C, D, you're taking physical attendance.
Yes.
What you want then to be here as a mind, because you're not educating the body, are you? You're educating the mind, right? Or expanding the mind, growing the mind.
Yes.
So how do you take mental attendance? I was, this question came up at one of the another similar sort of such sessions I had at another university. And so this idea of mental attendance is so beautiful. And I said, maybe just for 5 minutes, have people calm down. If we come here, because let's say you're 40 minutes, not long, 1 hour, whatever. And you might say, well, 5 minutes is too much. But, would you, out of 50 minutes, let's say, would you rather give away 5 minutes of people to settle down, maybe close their eyes, let some thoughts go away, be aware, just like Ashish was taking you through, right? Be here and now and present. At least enjoy the 45 minutes because they'll be listening to you. Does it make sense? Not everybody. Some people will probably not settle, but you're looking at majority of students. So bringing people's mind and attention to here and now becomes a challenge. So those are one technique that came to me. So that's, it's building engagement. So here is a model that I have developed, I call theory V of transcendence, transcending surface reality, knowing ourselves, and then settling into that pureness of consciousness. Well, let's say we are working at surface reality, right? The things are happening, things are being seen, and we have responsibilities, mental objects, physical objects, whatever, surface reality. We are in constant movement. But if you have a particular technique with which you transcend to the absolute, whether it's pranayama, whether it's meditation, whether it's some artwork, whether it's some laughter, whatever you want to do. But then you come down to the consciousness level and stay there for some time, be very peaceful, here, now, settled. Settled mind. What is settled? When we say settled? Settled mind. Now, what is mind? Who knows what mind is? But I have a mind. Mind is not me. I want my mind to be settled. Right? So this is, if you have a technique to settle the mind, stay there for a little bit, and then, at that point, all your thoughts, that commotion sort of becomes subtle. At some point, it stops altogether. And then when you are when you are done, like with some period of time, you come back to the relative. A little bit more energized, a little bit more refreshed, maybe a little bit more creative, a little bit more joyful, whatever it is. And so this is, that can be done through many techniques. One of them is transcendental meditation, which we teach at our university. But it could be any, yoga-based practices or other practices from Zen and art or whatever be it, that allow you to transcend being the word is flow. So get to a situation where you're flowing. You've lost sight of yourself. You've lost awareness of yourself. One of the things there is a researcher with her, she's older than me. I just have a constant joke going on. There is no me. At the highest level, there is no me. I'm not an individual. I'm pure awareness acting through me. And that's when life is fun. We are naturally doing what we need to do. Of course, we can't do all the time. We are in a classroom setting and certain amount of discipline is required. So all of that sort of puts bounds. Mind resists boundaries. Minds want, no matter how the boundaries, how far the boundaries. Just think of the house, right? Let's say a flat, right? Apartment, house. No matter how big it is, whatever this boundary say, oh, wish I had more of that, maybe a little bit more of that. So boundaries, mind resists boundaries, and you can be unbounded. And that's where the wholeness comes in. The wholeness of mind is unboundedness. And if you can help our students to be unbounded in their complete vision, imagination, creativity. I'm going to digress one more thing, since I didn't put a chart for that. But let me talk of these states of consciousness, and then maybe we'll go into discussion. How are we doing in time? It's 30 minutes. So, we have states of consciousness. We know the first three. We're in sleeping state, we're in dreaming state, we're in waking state. We are in waking state right now. We are aware that I am existing. My name is Deepak or Pranjal or Kosambi and Prakash, Ankita. And I'm also aware of what's going on. I'm just aware of what I'm saying, what I'm listening, what I'm thinking. When I'm sleeping, I'm not aware of myself. I'm not aware of the content of my experience. When I'm dreaming, I'm not aware of myself, but something is going on. But there is a state which is called the fourth state of consciousness that comes from Vedic knowledge. It's called consciousness, which is transcendent, which is when I show the blue bar there, where I'm aware of myself, but no content of my thoughts. I know I am, but there is no mental object in there. So that becomes peaceful. Shivam Shantam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante. It's considered the fourth state. Sa Atma, Sa Viggeya. That is the Atma. That is worth knowing. When we say what is Atma, Atma. Is infinity, is like point value. Infinity flowing into the point value of me, Atma, is this state. When I'm in the flowing state where I'm unbounded, that's true me. Then, of course, there are higher states of consciousness such that this unbounded state remains even when I'm operating in the relative world, like discussing, doing my thing, going to work, driving, whatever it is. And then it can be defined, and then you can reach the seventh state of consciousness, which is the Brahman consciousness or unity consciousness, where there is no inside, there is no outside. There is no that, but there is no this. Tattvamasi, thou art that. Aham Brahmasmi, I'm Brahma. Sarva Kalvida Brahma. Everybody is Brahma. What does that mean? In reality, we are all that. If you think of from quantum theory, this is all one big wave function. It collapses at certain points. You know, as for one interpretation, this wave function collapses based on where we pay attention, and we look like individual particles. But underlying us is the same common fabric of consciousness. It's all Brahman. Any one of you, every one of you is infinite. And so is every student. So if we, I mean, what did our Kalam Saab, right? You all know Kalam Saab is a great educator. He used to say, the mind is something to be kindled, not a box to be filled. You kindle the light in them, right? Then they will just turn heaven and earth, turn everything upside down to learn. Once the joy has been brought out, the mind has been kindled, lit up, then they will do all the effort to learn. So that is that when they see the light of unboundedness of them, their own, then they feel the joy and then they are living life happy. Happiness is automatic. So happiness lies within us, right? You've heard that many, many times. Am I right? Happiness doesn't lie in things. In fact, happiness lies in making others happy. I would say joy lies within us. Bliss lies within us. We are naturally blessed. What does Satchit Anand? What does Satchit Anand mean? Anybody? Sat, existence. Consciousness, Chit is consciousness, and Anand is bliss. Consciousness is the existence, and it's pure bliss. Our existence itself is pure bliss. Of course, we don't experience it, and that is the tragedy of our times. And that's where you can make a difference to students' lives. First, make a difference to your own lives. Be aware that you are infinite. So this is the idea that consciousness is knower. It's the way you know, and it's a known. What you see is also consciousness. The knower you are also consciousness, and the process of knowing is also consciousness. And here is the paradigm shift that's happening in education. Normally what happens is what happens on the right side, which is instruction paradigm, what we also call sage on stage. Somebody has a knowledge and gives the knowledge to others. Right, Panjula, good answer. So then now it's coming to like process of knowing, learning paradigm. The students should take charge of their learning. They learn from TV, they learn from phone, they learn from their neighbors, they learn from other students, they learn from teachers, they learn from parents, everything. But imagine the workload on the brain. It's the same mind, mind is not developing, right? You've got developed some mind in the first few years, and then you're just packing more knowledge. At the age of, what age do kids go to school these days? 2.5, 3 years age, right? Too early. And then you're just packing stuff, for this admission, that admission, very, very competitive, I know. Where is the development of the knower? That is the development of consciousness paradigm, which is where the idea of developing our consciousness, developing our awareness before you put in more knowledge, right? Everybody is trying to put more knowledge. Okay, students, I'm going to teach you this topic today. Let's say it's organic chemistry, a particular topic, let's say a particular molecule. How do we expand the person's ability to be aware? That is the gist of this new paradigm and what we call consciousness-based education. Let me just stop here because I've got more charts, but then we'll get into many things, the 7 rules, etc. And certain things, let me hear from you. How do you feel your teaching is going, and how do you feel you build engagement with students? How do you feel you add value to your students? Anything, something very positive about your experience, what you enjoy in teaching, and what you would like others to do. We'll just make a few minutes of, let's say, sharing, and then if time permits, we'll go back to sharing some principles.
Can I take a minute, sir? It was
Manjula, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was a very interesting lecture, and we a lot to identify. And I had something to share, the Sanskrit thing, Purnwala. So in my childhood, I learned it in Hindi. So I would like to share that with the group, Purna hai vah purna hai yeh, purna se sampanna hota, purna hai. पूर्ण में से पूर्ण को यदि ले निकाल, शेष तब भी पूर्ण ही रहता सदा. It becomes easy. Thanks for that. It was very
good.
Thank you.
How do you bring wholeness to your students? This Purnata, Manjula.
By bringing life to my teaching in the class. I'm like a friend, and in my B.Ed, I've done incidentally B.Ed, and I was taught the first thing, a teacher is a friend, philosopher, and guide. So I'm always a friend, and I always have that rapport. The first thing, which my professor taught me, to have a rapport with the students. Never make them feel that they don't know anything. In fact, we had to follow a concept of question and answer method, that never impose knowledge on them. It's not sharing of knowledge. It's understanding what they know and what they don't know, and then bridging the gap. So I always talk with them, and I interact with them, going down to their level, and then bringing them up to my level. So they all are engaged, even on these online classes. In fact, last week only, I conducted a session with the CA Institute students, all CAs. Some of them were seniors, more senior than me also, but they all were pretty engaged, because I need to ask questions. My quest for understanding what they know is much more than telling them what I know. That has helped me a lot. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Hima, did you want to say something? I saw you turn on the video. Maybe you wanted to say something. Anybody else? Just unmute yourself and speak. I think I saw some comments also. Prakash, you want to say real life stories and role play. How does that bring wholeness? Prakash Nair. Okay, usually the Zoom etiquette is the camera should be on. I know it's like different in different places, but that's what I'm usually I'm used to. So it's good to have the camera on, but I know in some situations there may be a reason why you don't have camera on. But if you have any other story, how do you bring wholeness to your classroom? How do you bring joy to students? How do you make them feel like, oh my God, I'm really looking forward to come to school and to your class?
So by making every session an interactive session, whereby the knowledge sharing is there, and the students, they every day they learn and explore some new things, and they carry that experience with them. It could be classroom learning, it could be an educational tour, or it could be interacting with the people from the society. So every session brings out these new experiences, and they uh, relate more to that, because these are real life instances actually.
Okay.
Sir, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are out. Possibly. Yeah.
Sir, I usually do means whatever topics I teach in the class. Out of the whole session, I try to, pick up one particular topic or one particular, line of that. And I try to make some kind of really workable exercise activities on that through any medium, means through any form, like group discussions, like interactive sessions among themselves. I will be absent over there. So I usually tell my students to assume me that I'm absent over there and just talk among yourselves. So whatever things means to bring that wholeness in the class, I do not focus on the whole session to make them understand. I just make them feel that you understand by yourself. There is no such kind of guideline from my end. Any line, if you remember per day, it will increase your knowledge in totality. Thank you, sir.
You're
Yeah.
most welcome.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. May
Yeah.
I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, Indrila. Yeah.
So I feel that teaching and learning is a collaborative process. I mean, while I'm teaching, I'm also learning from them. So the first thing I do with my students is to break the ice is that I tell them that nobody is going to judge each other. So let's not assume that the teacher knows everything. And I tell them that there'll be students who are shy and who think that asking a question can be stupid or my question is not good enough, and they tend to shy away from asking questions. So the first most important thing for me to bring in the wholesomeness is to make everybody feel a part of the class. And I tell them that nobody should judge each other, and just open up and be yourself, and we are all in this together in the learning process. So that's my way of starting a new class or introducing myself to a new batch of students. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Excellent. You said very beautiful things. I picked one thing, which is that you said something like, I make every student you feel part of the whole class. That's interesting. Some students may feel I don't belong in this class.
Yes, sir.
And they're just
Yes,
going
sir.
through the motions. They may be just going through the motion. I have to, right?
Yes, sir. Sir, and I have seen in my whatever small teaching experience that I have, that I have been able to bring out the best out of these students who were like branded as not so good 50% types. And I have seen that how they open up, they start feeling bringing out their own potential. They believe in themselves. That is very important, because every student has the capacity to learn. It is just that they are different. So we as teachers should be very sensitive and not brand them just because they are not speaking in the class or not giving the correct answer. It is not that they don't have the potential. Every student has the potential and they can shine.
Yeah, that's the idea. Everybody has infinity, if we just encourage. You never know what student is going to change the world. Just because they're not a good student doesn't mean they don't have the power to change the world. You've heard of Kiran Majumdar Shaw.
Yes, yes, sir.
You see her interviews. She says, I was a very ordinary student.
Okay.
Very ordinary student. She didn't like anything in class. But then, where she is right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not necessarily that people just learn from school. She enjoyed actually, doing things, and she just loved working with certain things as part of her training with her dad's business. Anyway, we can, all know such stories. Point is that, well taken
Yeah.
that.
So one more thing which I would like to add is that I also tell them, like yesterday I started a new batch, and I always tell them that don't just take everything very passively. Don't believe that whatever the teacher is saying is all right. Try to have a challenging attitude. Challenge your teacher. That will make us also, be on our toes and, learn. So that's why I said it's a collaborative process. We both need to learn together in this process.
Okay. I would love to pick up on this theme of collaboration and challenging. It's very important because I think it's not very easy for students. So let me, somebody wants to build on that. Somebody else. How do you create that collaboration between you and the student, between student and student, between the class and the rest of the world? How do you create the sort of connection, the connectedness where nobody feels isolated and feeling a part of the whole, and whole can be at whatever levels? Anybody, what do you do?
So children are very inquisitive actually by nature. Like human beings generally are very inquisitive, and the moment we come down to their level of thinking, it's like we had a discussion. And in discussion there is a scope for argument also. Everyone has different perspective. As as ma'am was saying, Verma ma'am was saying, it's always better to involve each and every student in the class. So then there is a sense of collaboration, there is a sense of belongingness in the class, and it's a collective learning over there.
Thank you. Now let me just call out some names since people are being very quiet. Only I'm hearing 3-4 people out of what 70 people. Ankita, you have to posted something. Ankita Shukla Pandey, right? Ankita ji, what do you think? What do you do in the class to bring a sense of oneness, wholeness, connection, engagement? What do you like to bring in the class, and how do you do it? Ankita, can you unmute yourself? Ankita, are you there? Okay. Well, let me pick up on, see, this is an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? Do you expect your students to be there behind the Zoom or not?
Sir, can I? Sir, can I?
Okay, let's see, Preeta, you go, and then we'll have Lanan. Okay, Preeta, go ahead.
Getting students involved is really challenging, but then also I make them part of the conversation. Maybe I involve them in every step, handhold them, and develop a sense of kind of ownership. And in the very first class I tell them that you are nothing less or nothing great than me, and I'm your facilitator, and we are together. So that creates an ambience which gives them a reassurance that I'm going to be friendly with them, and I'm going to be with them throughout this journey.
Okay, and you brought another related concept, is the idea of ownership, of agency, right? That I'm responsible for my life, my learning, my success, etc. Although everybody's going to help me, but ultimately, anybody, even parent, one of the things that I am just learning, is that you should not be more interested in the success of your student than the whole student himself or herself is. Because then they think, oh, I'm outsourcing my success to our teacher. Right? You need to help them develop a sense of agency. They need to be the knower. They need to be aware of themselves. I am Brahman, I'm whatever, and I can achieve whatever I want to achieve. I have my dreams, and my dreams are I can make them happen. And these are all people in the ecosystem, holistic ecosystem, to help me achieve that. So that's a very, very big part of it, right? The ownership. Where does that come from? How does that self-awareness or ownership or agency come from? So let's hear from Lanan. Lanan was about to say, then we'll have Uma. Lanan, go ahead. Mr. Pant. Pant ji, आप अपने unmute करिए.
Hello.
हाँ जी, बोलिए.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good evening.
Sir, I am working at Government Polytechnic, Nainital.
बड़ी सुंदर जगह है. बहुत सुंदर जगह है.
Yeah, sir. It's a good place to see. And I have to say something. I am a librarian. And
Okay.
I find that I have no means I am not there working as a teacher. So students doesn't come directly to me, but as they have to take their books from the library, they often come to my library. So that time I get interaction with the boys and girls, and there I am to see what type of books they are taking from the library. When they are taking their textbooks, it's okay. When they create their interest in other books also, that time I take a watch on them and I make a group of them. By this way, I tell them that they have to take part in national festivals also. Suppose the time of 26th January is there to come, I will uh, I will say them to prepare something over 26th January. By this way, I get some knowledge about the students, how they take part in these type of activities. By this way, I try to get knowledge about the students, how they are behaving, how they are reacting, how they can take part in extempore also. Suppose they are
Okay.
taking part in debate
Thank you.
also.
Thank you.
By
Thank
that
you.
way, I get
We got your
information. Thank
point.
you.
So you are exposing them to certain
Yeah, exposing them
opportunities
to some
yeah,
extent.
good. Yeah.
Thank
Let's
you,
go
sir.
with Uma, then Anshita, and then Preeta. Yeah. Uma.
Yes, sir. So good morning, sir. This is Anshita here.
Yeah. Uma first. Yeah. Uma was going first. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Uma.
Sir, good morning.
Good
Like
morning.
I agree with your opinion, because when students join the institute or the university, I make them understand that the efforts behind their success in getting an admission in the university, the parents' efforts, the hard-earned money of their parents, who think that their kids will relish and cherish their dreams, and that is how they take the ownership. It's about their own perseverance, that how they want to be at a particular point of time in life, and that they have to realize through the hard work. And as teachers, we are here to facilitate them with the best possible resources and provide them fruitful ideas, so that no, their dreams are realized when they leave the portals of the university. In some way, if they are able to contribute to the society in which they live, I feel that that could be one way that they are developed holistically.
I agree. I think this happiness is a very reflexive activity. You can, if you seek your happiness, you will come out a cropper. You cannot make yourself happy. But if you make others happy, it comes back to you automatically. So if you help people feel that ownership of making the society better, making others happy, I think they'll automatically become happy. So that is a very good point. Let's go to Anshita. Thank you, Ma.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Anshita, yeah.
Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. So sorry I couldn't speak that time because by the time I unmuted myself, you just called the other person name.
That's
So basically, when I teach my students, I believe more in the collaborative learning. And one thing which I always try with the student is peer-to-peer learning, where the students interact with each other, because I feel that the students are more familiar with each other. So sometimes they feel hesitation in speaking to the faculties, but when they interact with their peer group, they could speak better and they have more liberated thoughts. So I believe in peer to peer learning. And within the class, I keep on giving them small assignments, because since now it's in online learning, so I keep on giving the assignments in between and give them time so that they can interact with me in the real time, at the same time they can interact with each other and come out with something fruitful.
Thank you. That's good. Collaboration is good. Yeah. Thank you. Preeta ji. Please unmute yourself, Preeta ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One second. Sir, I feel this sense of ownership is at the bedrock of the teacher-student relationship. And once we build on that, our task becomes very, very easy. And we can, they will not be resilient, they will be open, and they'll be very dynamic, and we can work wonders once we build on this aspect of ownership. That is my opinion.
Exactly. Very nice. And there anybody else? Thank you. Anybody else has a take on agency, collaboration, wholeness? How you achieve that in your class? I think you will learn more from each other than from me. that's the way.
I would like to come in and give my points on this.
Please.
So very good morning, sir. This is Uma Sharma from RV Institute of Management, Bangalore. So as we are hearing to each of our peers here, constantly we see that students have to be on the collaborative mode. I think one more thing we need to look at is the digital kind of knowledge resource that they have at hand. So they have, it's an access which is available to them 24/7. So trying to keep that digital mode in mind, collaboration and facilitating is something which we have to agree and go ahead. So there's nothing like a faculty standing and intimidating the whole group. Those thinking has to go out. So these are facts of teaching today. So I think we need to go back and bring this learning to the learners also. So trying to understand the teaching learning as a learner also having a responsibility, especially from the Indian academic structure that we have, we still see that the learners don't have that much responsibility. So I think bringing in that sense, I think we going forward, looking at that perspective would help us. So I'm looking at trying to build more responsibility from their side.
Exactly. That's, and many of you have sort of come to this whole idea of ownership, the motivation, right? As a teacher, you can provide them contact, exposure, resources, abilities, but how do you build that motivation in themselves to create a life for themselves? So let me share another thought for you, which is this idea. Have you heard of Bloom's taxonomy? Anyone knows what Bloom's taxonomy is?
Yeah, sir. All of us adapted because all our learning institutions like NAC recommend that strongly.
Okay,
UGC
so
and NAC.
what part of Bloom's taxonomy do you focus on?
We are adapting it to all our course outcomes, sir.
Not the courses. Which, what does taxonomy? What does Bloom's taxonomy has 6 basic categories of skills, isn't it?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. So
where
we are looking at we are looking at the teacher-learner perspective itself and trying to adapt it to each of our course. So the course outcome should be bound by all the Bloom's levels.
All of them, right? Which is the highest? Which is the highest category in Bloom's framework?
That of trying to see that the concepts are applied and also learned in terms of the conceptual form.
What is the highest? That's not correct answer. Creativity. Okay, so that is the highest skill you need to build. So far in India, we have focused on, I think, understanding, analysis, right? Critical thinking, some critical thinking. Sunit, did you want to say something? Sunit, you're unmuted. Did you want to share something? Maybe mute yourself, Sunit, if you don't mind.
Sir, more than saying, I would like to get a clarity from you.
Okay.
Is supposing we say that creativity is a higher order goal, and is it possible that we can foster it with each and every student?
Well, yes, absolutely. To the extent everybody has that capability to be infinite, as I showed in the chart, everybody's unbounded there. Now, is everybody sort of going to be motivated equally based on circumstances, etc.? You can definitely bring to their awareness that you should be creative, not just parroting whatever the teacher tells. I mean, all of you have been saying that you're going to be collaborative, which means they're going to create things that you don't know, you're not aware of. You may not ahead of time sort of say this is right. You may hear something and you'll be surprised, right? Sunit, could you mute yourself, please?
Okay.
So, yes, absolutely 100%. Not only creativity, but I would want to say the share of activity geared towards creativity should be much higher.
Okay.
Right? Otherwise, understanding and memorizing, analyzing is what goes into all those, tests, and we get into admission tests, like a lot of them are mathematical and logical.
Thank you. Thank you,
So,
sir. Thank
yeah,
you, sir.
creativity is the highest skill, and creativity comes naturally when the consciousness is acting through you. I would submit that. What is creativity? Again, that's a whole different discussion, but point being that to please focus on creative ability of the people. We are very good at following what has been written and reading people's books, but how do we create something? How do we create? And I think Nisha, afternoon se bola hai ki create some write-up of something that you see as a social entrepreneurship activity around, right? Has Nisha talked to you about it?
Yes,
Anybody remembers?
we have been given assignments.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, look at the book chapter that has been mailed to all of you. The first chapter, introduction, is about Bharat Swabhiman, Safai Abhiyan, right? The cleanliness mission, and how that happened, and how great a story it is in terms of a social entrepreneurship activity, which, you know, everybody's house is clean, everybody's toilet's working, so it becomes nice for everybody else. So I would love everybody to begin to write, take this opportunity to, how many of you publish papers and research and, you know, some kind of articles?
Thank you,
Nisha,
sir.
can you mute
Thank you, sir.
Sunat? So Pranjal, can you mute Sunat? I think he's just done it. Don't mute me, mute Sunat, I said, yeah. Just a lot of this, yeah, thank you. So how many of you write papers or publish stories or in articles, or, you know, in whatever way do you write and communicate through your creations? How many of you create something? What have you created that and shared? Anybody? Have you created a write-up, an article, a journal piece, a book chapter, a case study, painting, new song, poem? Preeta says case study. So everybody should do that, more of that. Once you do that, you know, you're modeling that activity for your students also. So at this point, I mean, to the extent we are your faculty, Nisha and I would love you to create some case studies of things that are happening around you. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be around this or that. It can be education, health, transportation, you know, whatever is happening. So please write something. What did you say, Nisha? 1,000 words approximately? Yeah. 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 words.
1,000 to 1,500.
1,000 to 1,500 words is a very decent thing, right? You can write that, think it through. And
then this is the abstract or the proposal form. Then it has to be extended after our one workshop. So we will, after getting this 1,000 to 15 words, then we can have a one workshop, half-day workshop with those who will submit their proposal.
Yeah, they submit the proposal, submit write up, then we'll try to bring it and make it into a group where, you know, your name chapter would be there. Again, around social entrepreneurship, we'll stay with that theme. And, you know, a month gives you an opportunity to write it. Maybe have your students help you write it. You know, who knows? They might help you do that, and they might bring opportunities for you, which you can write about. So it just gives that sense of ownership. I helped my teacher write the story that invented this book, which is being taught, used to teach all the people around the country. That gives them some sense of direct connection to contribution to society. So I would suggest that please, everybody consider writing. And it's a short piece, not very long, and just a month-long activity. We will take the month to write it and then submit to everybody. With that, I should close my thoughts. And in summary, what would I say if wholeness of what we did? What do you think is the wholeness of what? And let me hear back from you. Okay, what is not my wholeness? What did you hear from me? One word, just one word answer. Maybe you can chat or just unmute and say this. One word, just one word. How are you feeling?
Conscious.
Conscious. Fulfilled. Great. Enlightened.
Creativity.
Creative. Collaborative. You feel a sense of peace. You feel a shift in your consciousness. More energized, probably, more empowered, whatever your thoughts are. So that, thank you. For me, I'm really enjoyed being with you, and thank you for being good partners by collaborating and talking. So it was not the other way around, which is just one person talking. So wish you a great time. And I know this afternoon you will be hearing from Professor Anil Gupta. He was my teacher at Ahmedabad. I really love him. He's one of the great leading lights in Indian sort of management research. So I hope you will enjoy his talk. And then, today is the last day of your workshop. I'm so delighted to be leading off on this one, and then hope you come back for more such sessions. Maybe conduct such sessions, conduct such sessions in your own institution, etc. And I love this idea that what Ashish left with you, create a club, Yogastha club, or something that in which meditation club, somewhere where people are focusing on expanding the consciousness, expanding the container, expanding awareness, growing the person before we sort of give him more knowledge. With that, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Appreciate your kind comment.
Thank you, Dr. Anil. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
For taking our participant in a next level. So what I was talking about, orbit shift. So that this orbit shift is not only in social innovation or working, this is orbit shift in your consciousness also. So from the day when I'm talking about shifting of consciousness or shifting of your one orbit to other orbit, it is from your work, from your thinking, and from your consciousness. So I hope that from the morning session from Ashish Pandey and Professor Anil, at least I hope that some orbit shift has been taken. So that was my understanding, and I hope. So I would request any participant to give thanks to Professor Anilji. Anyone can say thanks by unmuting.
Can I just take the opportunity?
Yes, yes,
yeah, Professor Nisha, very good. Very thank you for organizing this. And Dr. Maheshwari, it has been absolutely consciousness and it's absolutely awakening. Kya re, tum kahan bhatak gaye the? To aap wapas leke aaye ho. That was the session which brought change in me, and I feel for others also the same thing. We all have all this, but we are not aware and we have not been practicing. So एक consciousness आया कि नहीं अभी थोड़ा समझ के करना है. So very nice session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Everybody did a great job. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the day and the weekend. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Yeah, bye. So, all of you, now you are energized, happy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Deepak.
Good morning.
Morning. So any change, anything good you find in this morning 2 sessions?
Ma'am, like in these 2 sessions, like most of the most of the teachers, they have now come on board actually as a participants. So it was really nice to listen to them. They have just warm up actually as a